agenda pack. This go straight to item 1.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's amended from what's on the central there. So we have apologies from Councillor Lee Redmond, Travis, and Councillor Claire Sully, who is present online. And we have Councillor Heather Shearer, who is substituting in for Councillor Sully, who is sitting in today. Doesn't have Councillor Nick be.
Item 2, in this meeting, everyone's found people that yes. And silence. Who's the second? Yes. That's what you raised that right. Okay. Right, declarations of interest. Members will be invited to declare any interest regarding any matters on the agenda to any specific interest. The people at town and parish on the website. Yeah, we do it. Just in the right, okay. Right, thank you. Questions? I mean, we have no public questions.
Right, Chair, no public questions.
Okay, right. Right, go straight on to agenda item, which is the fees and charges report. And we're going to take Paul, who's going to present this report.
Right, okay. Shall I put it? Let me join the meeting a sec. So everyone can see that, that's good. So yeah, so this report I produced is relating to the peak charges for Harbours, 7. Report details the proposed increases. Then there's a recommendation there, which I'll go for a second. And there's a separate appendix, which I'll go for a second, which outlines the uplift in fees and charges. So, proposal is the fees and charges go up by 4% across the board, which is in line with inflation and in line with other fees and charges from the council. That is the proposal, and the recommendation is that the committee endorse the proposed fees and charges for Bridgewater and Harbour's Point. Watch it. As outlined in this report, a detailed and appendix 1. Enable progression through the council's formal fees and charges approval process. I think it just needs to be noted that this committee is not a decision-making committee, so you are endorsing those fees and charges for further consideration by the executive council as part of the normal, I suppose, normal fee and charges setting process. So I won't go through it in any massive detail because it's say the salary is a 7% increase. I will find the appendix. So you'll see appendix 1. There's a column in there with the current fees for 25-26. I've done it without VAT, and then the 2 subsequent columns are 26-27, what the fees will be, the increase. So the final column plus VAT is what the members of Parliament pay. So for an annual split wage permit, be £212.20p, and your fees are charged in that column. Detail a little bit of gone through various aspects of it. Everything's detailed in that appendix. Okay, so that's the report.
Okay. Right, I might say that, council has an authority, we What we, as part of the budget set, is we put all our fees and charges out to the public. People, is that right, Heather? We put it back, so they can have a say or not.
I think it's only an inflation cover. I think it's an inflation cover.
Right.
Because if you introduce something which is new,
Only so it's new, right?
I'd love someone else to talk about
I mean, please think there's nothing for that, so it's public, so on the agenda.
To have, I thought, oh,
it. Yeah,
what I said.
in terms of, there's no conflict.
No, it's right, there's no, that's it, there's no consultation, no, but it does, it's in the public, it's in the public domain, so, yeah. People sometimes do contact us if they have an issue with, fee or charge. Does anyone have any questions for that? Andrew?
Just a very quick technical question, really. Mine had sailing club fees. 25, 26 plus current 400 quid, then they go down to 346, then up to 416 with VAT. Should that 34667 be 416 as well?
Yeah, that might be right. I could check that. I mean, the overall fee will remain the same, what the town fund pay. That's the VAT. If you want to double check that with the finance team about the VAT. You're probably right. That actually should be VAT free. Yeah, it's not technically a standard fee. They can't get that. It's just basically.
Exactly, it's just, it goes down, I was expecting it to be 4%.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll double check that with the local finance team.
Should just be a flat rate then.
Deal.
You talk about charging costs directly for waste disposal for passenger vessels. Don't you have any, you're going to incur admin costs on that? Maybe you should put it in consideration for the administration.
I mean, it would be quite a state price application. It gets had to spend, I don't know, 5 hours to get a contract all the way fully in place that we can add into that charge.
Normally what happens is apparently with Waverley being the only charitable vessel that turns up, normally if we do waste water, we do have bins down there anyway, and those are regularly changed out. So what we normally do is we request an extra bin at a point, and then it's emptied as soon after there is. So there's a very minimal cost involved, but essentially any costs incurred are then passed back on.
I just saw it as a potential.
It would be if, I think if we actually had commercial shipping and we were happy to do extra additional wastage removal so that there wasn't a health issue there. But as we know, usually when the wave is coming in, and it's fairly, you know, she's either going to bail out because of the weather or she is coming because of the additional people coming in on the line, rails, etc. It doesn't really pose a problem. It probably might be more of an issue if we were perhaps up at Dunbar, when we sometimes get ships that come from Europe where there's obviously waste issues and requirements.
But you can deal with.
Yeah, if we had to, then decision will be then be made. It would be done request an application as it stands at the moment.
That's very. But there is obviously. That's what you so it's not an unusual payment for words to get some sort of waste in place, and that goes.
Perhaps on a cruise ship coming into Miami.
Well, we're working on that one.
Graham, welcome, Graham.
Hi, sorry, the sound is pretty awful,
Fix
but
it, Graham.
so it may have been covered, but
Can't
I'm
hear you,
looking-
Graham.
I'm looking at the fourth
Just
thing.
one sec, Graham, we're going to just see
Okay.
if we can put something down the end. The technical term.
And Lee's joined us as well.
Try again, Graham.
Oh, that's marvellous now. Looking at these figures, and obviously I can't see the figure, the top line, but it looks like they've been elevated by 4%. which is reasonable. The bit that I'm wondering is why the figures aren't rounded. Because charging somebody £43.20, it just seems a bit silly, really, that to be having the odd numbers. I would have thought it'd be easier for everybody if they were rounded. It could be either up or down, but a rounded number might be simpler. I don't know how people actually pay. You certainly, it would be easier generally, I think.
I
But
did that, but obviously it didn't meet the finance by 4%, so they did these. I mean, ultimately, there may be that we discuss it and have it rounded slightly after, you know, before it goes. The finance didn't like it anyway.
Well, Graham, we'll check on that with finance, and if we don't get a kickback, then maybe we can change it. Dave will check. Thank you for that question, then, Graham. Anybody else? No, that's great. Okay. So, hopefully, members are happy to endorse the proposed fees and charges.
Can I ask one other question? In your report, paragraph 10, you talk about motor water is limited to charges at inflation, but you can also get additional lump sum contributions. We had any lump sum contributions?
Yeah. So, EDF, we've got a separate funding agreement with EDF, which they effectively upfront us some of our fees and charges prior to delivery. So every year they provide us a capital lump sum, and that is paid across regardless of how many deliveries they get. So if they have one delivery, they still pay us that capital lump sum. If they have 50 deliveries, that offsets our risk to a certain extent because of the varied nature of deliveries over the last, it's only in the last year or so that we've actually had substantial. Yeah, some years we've had one delivery and we've still got these capital costs, etc., that we're trying to cover. Like, but that's what we do. So they have provided us with the upfront costs. Obviously, part of that term of that agreement is that there is a inflation. It's how we link to inflation.
Could you use the lump sum contributions to offset any rounding problems if you need to tidy up the charges?
Yeah, I think we can. That money is has to be held in reserves, and what we don't spend is held in reserve of subsequent years. So yeah, we could. But I think with the rest, what we could do is, and I'll go back to finance and say, look, now the report's got through, it's 4%. It'll still just round up to this pound or whatever it is. Try. The problem with some of the lower fees in doing that is if you round up fee, which is £11.20 up to £1, and you find it goes up by, you know, so that's why we sort of do. Yeah. So that's why we did like this. But I mean, a lot of the fees for Bridgewater, they're all paid effectively electronically, and I think, you know, a majority of the fees get from don't take massive amounts of cash. I don't believe so. A lot of it is, you know, someone might write a check or they might pay by card, so it's not quite the same as the similar problem with beaches in Burnham, in that you wouldn't want a car parking fees for, I don't know, £5.23. You'd have to have some float up there to cover it off. So, but these fees are more just paying electronic things. So, but that was my problem, was trying around it so that we didn't skew lower fees. I think some of the fees of Port Bridgewater, some of the bigger fees, they are rounded to that pound because it doesn't have really any effect on things by £100. It would have an effect by 20.
From a practical level, no. Normally, most people are doing it by card these days. However, we do get people paying cash, particularly put both fees down at Minehead. We are looking to see if improve perhaps QR code down the same as it's currently Watch. At the moment, Watch is a bit of a funny one because it has street parking. So we then have to get hold of parking to discover what's going on, even though it's so low because it's included. That's something that we're looking to try and streamline, so we've got the same consistency across. We do get some cash.
My final question is, are we going to communicate these fees specifically to Minehead Sailing Club, who had issues with fees last year?
We do.
They already know,
They already-
and they're content.
And we also do, as the Harbour Authority, when we put out renewals for licences and obviously because of the issues that we've, misunderstandings we've had previously, we are making the effort to try and ensure that all users are aware of what the uses are, particularly the impacts of the anyway. So far, it seems to, and the way some is going, because they seem to better understand what direction of travel we're trying to cover.
In terms of the fees, we haven't put any new fees in there, so that -75 fees, that's what was agreed last year, they're happy. Just put up by the.
Trouble you've got with rounding as well, with the VAT.
Yeah.
But you might have a round flat figure, but then have VAT in it.
Yes.
So you have to do it the opposite way and.
And historical values, although they weren't.
Yeah. Right, then members, what's that being to endorse those fees and charges? Okay, great, thank you. Oh, we have to propose, oh, we have to propose and set that, who's proposing? And Heather's seconding, lovely, yeah, can we get the name, can we get the words down that, possibility?
The shame of it is going to be fine, everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy? Anyway, right, okay, brilliant. And we move on to the skills. And our presentation today, Danny's the project manager for the water. Focus the docks, isn't it? Obviously, I also have this docks. I hand over to Richard.
It's on the screen. Okay, so this is thanks for inviting me here. Happy to come and give you a bit of a brief. This is mostly termed Bridgewater dock regeneration. What it really is an active travel public realm improvement, paving, planting, and bridge, along with modernisation of the existing room. It's going to take us through what we've done, which is to get to this point, which is a lot of engagement through these places. Back in November 2023, Sunset Council got a big wad of money for refurbishment of a lot of activities in Bridgewater, one of which was the regeneration of docks, broadly speaking about 5.2 million. Shortly afterwards, they held some consultation with people to understand what they wanted to achieve from the refreshment of docks, opportunities for water users. The fishing keeps coming up, although there's not an activity in the docks. It keeps coming up, and if you go around there, everyone's fishing. It seems to be. Retention of the existing dock assets, opportunities for heritage features to be sort of a key part of what's going on. Obviously, health and safety improvements, and there are plenty to deliver there. Improvement in active travel, and I'll take you through how that links into some of the other disciplines in town. Also, get an idea of people with active improvements and cleaning and cleanliness generally around the docks. Back in November last year, WSP were appointed to planning, consultation, design, and that's progressed now to almost ready for a planning application. That's in November. Engaged with a lot of statutory consultation through different methods, web pages, surveys, promotional material, social media, and inviting people to come along and we segmented it into things like, councillor briefing, practicing briefing, policy briefing, for those people that have an interest in, and we also have the objectives were to review the previous proposals, discuss amendments, and bring forward ideas that will inform the plan. And I think that's happened. we've had lots of ideas from, but by and large, sort of 90% agreement with proposals that were on board, which is well, it knocked them over at WSP because normally 90% of people turn up to say I object to this. So this was very much a turnaround, and this shows the demand, the desire amongst people in Bridgewater to actually make this happen. So the initial proposals were, to try and create that cultural tourist destination, enhance connectivity. There is an industrial relationship around docks, and if you look at some of the historic pictures, it's not that over. Master sailing ships in that dock connected to the might struggle to get up the river at the moment because there's a lot of bridges there with
We would do up at the end
Yeah.
now, so without somebody's.
Yeah. Improve the pedestrian and cycle access, improve the high quality public ground in the way that we're trying to do elsewhere. Originally it was about refurbishment of Pasco Bridge, but that's just about painting it, so the money is just not there to go there. And new leisure and residential moorings. The active travel proposal, so the idea is about creating a new art standing to travel around docks, particularly just on one side, close to both, and through street furniture, decorative features. Lighting is a significant missing over there. I think historically they had these lantern globes for about 2 seconds before they were knocked off by the local people, but they've all gone, so we need another solution for that. But you do see people wandering talk to them. So broadly speaking, the active travel route is going around the top edge of the dock here, coming down here where we're going to install a new swing bridge across the lock. There's currently a very temporary rickety.
It's been there for the last 12 years.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to last, but yeah, and improving the paper round here along Anson Way here. We'll just say we don't own the Anson Way part here; it's owned by people on this side. Distance negotiations to then at the other side, right around the other side of the Dosco, on the Basco Bridge side, this is where it's the cycle anti-travel route come in. We're proposing to put some up here just to enhance that involvement. The link up here, of course, is that there is an active travel route which goes around here and goes down the length of the river, goes out to Chiltern. So there is connectivity there, and on the other side of it, there's connectivity into Northgate, which the council has just delivered in terms of where the new cinema is and restaurant. That's the connection. There is a landscape proposal that we've shared with people. It looks like lots of trees all around this end. And clear to say to people that we will not be delivering trees, we're delivering large shrubs, or trees. And the reason is we can't afford to dig tree pits next to the listed building, which is the docks. The risk, I think,
Will be raised off the ground.
yeah, just sort of, so it has a very much that type of effect. Trees that are down at this end are already there, they're not ours, but there'll be a mixture, and there's probably can't see it. But
It's been very expensive, aren't they?
they are very large. So along with the consultation we shared, we can see some pictures around the outside of the type of things that might be delivered. We've highlighted some of the current features as well, and whether others view about some of those have been retained or otherwise also part of that. The biggest thing that came out of all that consultation was lighting on anything, and just the need to do something. Bridgewater introduced. We have a look at some of the water management issues, and some of the issues are about flow. There's not much flow through there. We've had a look at silt removal. I don't think we'll be doing much in terms of silt removal. It's spreading, depends on cost and what comes back. Improvement through reed bed quality might be option, and we have got some floating repairs in the marina, which given to us by one of the charities. And there's also a potential for waterborne litter collection removal. So I was at Bellagio Gardens not long back, and there was a man in a boat with a big wide, yeah, well, that's the job for me in my retirement. Yeah. Yeah. So, and actually the flow through there is not great, and the most we can probably do is to remove one of the top blocks that are at the moment. Just quick. There's a lot more work to be done, just saying we're going to remove it. The initial proposals were for around 60 boats to go in here. It's been rationalised because I think that was just beyond on that. We're down to 33, what we would call your larger narrow boats. So that's the basis for which any calculations could be started. There could be more, could be less. I don't think we ever had 33 of there. So, and it is yeah, they took them all out so that this project.
Oh, they took that out.
And it's a closed system between here and.
The theory is saying that boats could go, could travel from Bridgewater to Taunton.
Yeah.
So,
It's canal boats, basically, narrow.
yeah, canal boats could go from Taunton to Bridgewater.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So the boats they took out, are they just relocated somewhere else on the canal?
I think some have been. If you go down to sort of boat anchor, there seems to be a collection of boats that serve all sorts, and that is down now. We would, you know, I guess we would come back. I think we want to improve the quality of what's come back.
You have to average,
Yeah,
usually.
yeah. There was some dodgy improved. Yeah. So just mention about, you know, the initial proposal was about this Basque Bridge. Now, this Basque Bridge is historic significance. And there's a lot of work that's been done by Somerset Highways on improving it over time. So anything that we're going to do to this is only cosmetic and not a refurbishment. And again, based on cost there. I think one of the standard things I found of this whole project was actually when you look at canal blocks, gates, there doesn't seem to be a working gate there in good condition. I thought actually as a minimum we might refurbish these. Yeah. But we've actually got about 3 meters of silt in there. So that even if we put a new gate in, it wouldn't ever work. It would just be so we're looking to actually make things safe. So part of the activities are outside of the scope of my project, of which this is one of them. So because of the nature of hanging bits that are hanging on, we've had a conversation with our asset department who recognise the health and safety issues. It's a different issue for them to deal with, and there are a few things. That
We'll get on that.
I don't think the replacement of the gate gets done, but removal of the health and safety issues is the important. So on this particular one, if you look at this here, the actual
This is the land end.
Yeah.
yes, so the cantilever here, then they can't close it anymore, so they're looking to support that cantilever with a yoke underneath to just go anywhere and tie it down. On the other side, there's a bit of canal gate hanging off. Historic
that game.
Well, not.
I mean, obviously it's not being used, so.
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't do if the rest of the thing
Yeah.
goes out,
Yeah.
actually there's nothing stopping.
The water.
Yeah.
The water at the moment, I'm not worried about that one, I'm
No.
more concerned with the other end,
Right.
because
Yeah.
they're in. They're in
I
as
agree.
well.
Yeah, so cosmetic though this may be, actually, if you've got a canal, it seems a bit dark, yeah, now. We looked at the ecology and the net gain, and still trying to look at that biodiversity net gain in terms of the plant. We have done a full desktop study and a habitat survey. Haven't got anything particularly notable in terms of animals that are the waters, for example. There are bats around the corner, but not on our plots, so to speak. And then engagement. So we've had a bit of an engagement plan and process. which starts off with some stakeholder workshops, some analysis about those design proposals being put into place and the plans then being developed. And then during that sort of final submission type of area, just about here, think about before it goes into planning. The aim is to get it into planning by November, so that the overarching idea is that get planning out of the way and then have 3 months to at least tender any project. So that come April 2026, be in a position where we had somebody who's preferred bidder, and then between 2026.
Is the time, there's time straight on the funding?
Yeah, there was until someone did stand up and say, actually, we're going to spend everything for 3 years. So the rush to be actually in contract by April next year has moved. And so in terms of planning, we've had the pre-planning advice. We've had April, we've had the quality review panel. Quality review panel are really interested and very supportive of the proposals. And actually, the biggest takeaway I took from there is you can't please everyone. And as much as we might want to, everyone's got an idea. And actually, some of their feedback was deliver them real. People will instantly see the change. We've embedded some of the feedback into the planning activities anyway, and as such, 90% of people were very supportive. So there's just a sort of schematic of use sport plans for straightforward shots, just general question.
And then they'll do big.
Here's the view.
You,
Should go start from slide.
Slideshow. No, slideshow. This slideshow.
Really, once I left it.
okay. I'll figure that for next time, but that's true. But here you actually see that 90% of people are in favour of it. 6% aren't sure, and 4% were a no.
You know what the no's were no's?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So the no's are no's because the residents in around the reef are subject to a lot of antisocial behaviour. But actually, they just see this as another opportunity for us to come in. Yeah, and it'd be less with lighting, it'd be less with CCTV and one thing that goes on with it. And also the footpath that goes across Hampton Way is actually in the ownership of one of the blocks of houses. I think there's no specific public rights of way, but I think over time it's been there so long.
Bit on the side there.
Yeah. So you'll see that there's also a question about parking on the other side. Where people are in favour of that, a small bit of parking on the other side of the Basket Bridge. And again, see that 83% of people are in favour.
How many spaces would it be? So it doesn't like it would be anything.
It can't be more than a dozen spaces. But at the moment, it's an informal, disorganised. Yeah. And then the other question we asked was about off Hampton Way, and then you start getting people that are half people don't want it. But actually, I think there's a story behind that in terms of how their maintenance money been redirected, and so they've now taken over their own resources, and so they've got a bigger say. But nonetheless, it would be useful to be able to use that bit of footpath, because the informal nature, the footpath's 1.7 metres wide. People are already taking the extra 25 centimetres further side. You can see where it's all worn away. So it sort of makes a lot of sense to, just put it down and do it once. And that's the conversation I'm having with them. But nonetheless, you can see that there's huge amounts of people in Bridgewater. There's no change to, the navigation. That stays where it is. Yes, I would take any questions.
Right. Any questions at the moment? So put some notes down here, if we move referring to them, but But the flow through just seems to be critical, well, the flow through seems to be critical to the sort of attractiveness, I'd say, of the marina. And, you know, there's a lot of green pondweed in the summer and stuff. What's the sort of plans to manage that? Because without that, it doesn't seem to apply.
There is already flow through the marina. There's a conversation that we had with Mass Roads Trust, the private agency, about how we might increase that. And that's what we will do. It won't be hugely increased, but it'd be nice to be able to at least trap all the rubbish in one corner so it can be easily disposed of. They were looking at floating rubbish bins.
Yep.
Right.
So do you need modifications then to the gates? Because that's not covered.
No, it's not covered with this, but there's already a mechanical flow. So that could be adjusted. And the other thing that could be adjusted is we have some temporary 30 years. Well, just go across the lot. You know, you could remove so that or remove half of that's another risk that we and one of the health and safety.
It's not so high to let some water in.
That's balance, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
like that, if those gates give way,
Yeah.
you've got a huge influx down the river. Now we have the tidal barrier that's just down the river.
There's nothing to stop it. We're about to table. I suppose there are some gates.
It's more than it's coming. Yes, you've got the seaward.
You like to lose.
You've got a 6 metre rising pool at Dunbar, which is only about.
Oh, no, you move it all the way back to here.
It's all, it's a French weir, it's all the water, you know, French weir.
Well, pretty much.
Yeah.
This
It's
is
right.
quite a lot.
So the start part, the risk has been raised, but discussed with our health safety here, that probably the solution lies in putting another line
Water flow control structure over there.
on the front side, where people will go to.
Yeah, there is, but there's also, say on that, having had to do it myself, actually, a lot of the flow would be increased if we got rid of the rubbish, because we did it for one morning. That's about half a dozen shopping trolleys, a chair, a bike, and anything else that people want in. So right outside the gates, actually, some of the reason we don't have decent flows because there's a lot of weed accumulation, and also that goes into the lower end of the river as well, into the river parrots. So that's potentially something that needs to be looked at. We're not adults.
Yeah.
Because actually, as I say, from the harbour perspective, I could say it would be those gates and then failing. Everything's going to come out my way.
Oh, yeah. I agree entirely with you. I think that's a fundamental issue. And that's what's gone back into our organisation.
As an organisation, we've got capital big. Excellent.
Well, I think
In
it's
terms of funding to do that.
personally, I think it's your biggest red risk that you should have.
Yeah.
And that's how I approached it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, from a continuity aspect, canals into the harbour environment.
Yeah.
Those gates are probably the biggest risk. I will speak with you afterwards, but there's some people that I can put you in touch with who do lock gates for a living. And I've done for about the last 50 years, so they may be able to assist.
Is that risk all through the assets?
Yeah, that's how it's done. Right.
But to like the cleaners.
That's
In
Chris all knows about it.
Crystal Long's Crystal Long's, yeah. Yeah, I've got Lee first. And then I'll give it to Stuart. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry I can't be with you. I managed to ditch at the other meeting, so I can come in. I recognise the importance of this. It would be helpful. I know it's the environment you're in. If we could try to not have too many conversations over talking to each other. The noise at this end, the sound in the room is appalling, and I'm only picking up bits and bobs as I go along. So it just would be helpful for us if that's okay. A few points. First of all, Jess, if you want to come down the Parrot any time, I'll give you a hand to get the shopping trolleys out. It's a regular point of contact under the bridge. That all the councils get the blame for it. And I keep trying to remind people it's not necessarily our fault, but that's always a problem for shopping trolleys. The residents of Bridgewater seem to have a preference for lobbing them over the bridge, which is a pain in the neck, I know. But that's an aside from why we're here. Richard, thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate it. I'm sure that the slides will be shared. So that's the first one. The second one, it's I suppose. So the second one, actually, start from the back. Anson Way crossing point, yes. It's something the residents have been talking about for such a long time, and the fact that you're going there in the mornings or afternoons, the number of children that you're using the crossing point, and the speed that some people are going down to Anson Way, that would be helpful. So I support those comments. Okay, so back to the plan. So the original plan was pretty meaty, pretty comprehensive, and you've talked through some of the points and you've explained some of the rationale behind where we are, Richard. Have you got a new plan yet, please?
No, I don't think there's a new. Sorry. Don't think there's a new plan. It's more or less the plan as was originally conceived. I think all we're doing now is adding the detail to it. Final materials we agreed by our planners, having had the feedback from our heritage people and others.
Okay, thank you. That's really, but so what would be helpful then, I suppose, would be a list of things you expect to be done as part of the deal. But then you and I, well, all of us in the room have been involved with value engineering, or in other words, finding things that we can cut to make the balance, the available budget meet our expectation. So, and a realistic list attached to that plan then of things that you think may be done, things that might drop off the end, because I'm afraid to say, having been involved with the docks project for a long time, and with the fact that Canals River and Trust, this is my words, not the council's, have been allowed to get away with not putting the property back into a way it was handed over to them. I have massive concerns with the liability that are hidden under all the bits and bobs that we're planning to do. So I think we need to be clear from the very beginning of a prior. If you could have a list of, I suppose, of things that you plan to do, but then what we need to do is sit down and figure out which are the most important and which aren't, because it's a bit like the old asbestos thing. Until you lift the tiles, you don't know what's underneath. And I'm reasonably confident that that place is going to be full of booby traps and all sorts of stuff as we start doing the work. So I think for I know that you're going to be liaising with the town council in relation to it as well, but I think a priority list would be helpful from the beginning. And I think at the top of anything you write down, you need to put in big bold letters with flashing lights around it, subject to on-site and lifting the first tiles to see what's underneath.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It may be premature in that, because actually there's a project to deliver, which is, as I started, largely public realm bridge, I would say. I need to understand what our competitive tender is going to come back like before I can make a judgment around that. There's probably a conversation for a bit later in the day, but I'd take on board and say, at this moment in time, I haven't value engineered anything out. It's what's the aspiration? That was the original aspiration. That was what the government money was based upon. We are 2 years later. So, and it'll be 3 years by the time I deliver it. I mean, the effective inflation on that is going to clearly bring stuff, something to the table.
Yeah, but in the same way, Richard, sorry, just to put the Canals and River, some of the premise for the plan was that the Canals and River Trust would put right some of the things that they were expected to do.
Yeah, and that is still on the table. The conversation I've had with our assets people is that I have to incur an expense first before I can claim against their non-rectification of the demise.
Okay, so sorry, Chair, forgive me. Just one quick one then to add on to it, Richard. So it would be helpful perhaps for this body to see the communication with the Canals and River Trust in relation to this handing the tender, the lease back to the council, because from experience there were a number of conversations that were had, and it might be reasonable, Chair, forgive me for putting words in your mouth, that this committee that might be have sight of the dilapidation report that was generated, because there are lots of things there, because this committee now in its current state has oversight of the Bridgewater docks because of the nature of where we are. And I think as this project goes forward, the fact the body needs to be aware of the potential issues that were identified in the dilapidation.
Thank you, Leah. I agree with what you're saying, because obviously always when leases come to an end, you have a demise report. So it must look like as it should be.
Approach to that, be to assets rather than to me.
Be to-
They don't have the
Right,
details.
so-
That's that.
Right, okay, so through Josh and through we will, we'll get some words together to find out what's that. I know it's been a big change in assets because the lady left as new manager now, isn't there?
Yes.
I'm not too sure who it is, but we'll find out who it is. And
Felicity is one of them.
And then
And
just
Savory is the other.
right, assets of the state. Seems quite
but we will thank you for that, Lee. We will prod the beast and get
Just a quick point, Chair. I'm conscious that since the DLAP done, our property team has changed shape somewhat in the meantime. Being the OCD nerd that I am, I may happen to have a copy of the dilapidation report if no one can find the official one.
Okay, thank you for that. But at least I can obviously have a word that I believe I'd like to say now that all assets come under Councillor Rigby. So obviously he's my fellow ward councillor. I can have a conversation with him to make him aware of all the issues. Because obviously we don't always know as councillors what goes on in the bigger scale of things. And it's good that you've got the impact, the knowledge from being in Bridgewater. So thank you very much for that, Lee. Right.
So I've three questions, three further ones. That's right. I wonder if the structural condition assessment of the walls we looked at, we actually got a wall around the arena there. Are they in good condition, stable, not going anywhere?
We're expected to do a digital survey.
Okay.
So that's,
drone LiDAR on it.
yeah. So give us an idea.
And then
We don't want to make it worse.
no, building upon something which is accurate.
Yes.
That's all great. The other one is just the long-term sustainability of the canal. Am I right in thinking the canal is actually used for potable water? Right. Extraction. If water's taken out of the canal, is that?
Farming purposes, you think, or
No, I thought I read something. It was used to top up the local reservoir.
what was the water?
One of the was in the north. Bridgewater.
Don't know the detail, but I did believe there's some instruction by Slowmo, which is quite low that we might.
Might make comment, adds to the number of stakeholders who are interested in
Yes.
the robustness of that gate. You can lose that, lose the water supply. And then operation of the marina, who's going to take responsibility for the day-to-day charges and stuff of the marina?
There's a conversation to be had, and I think that Jessica Hamish is looking at devolution options. On the other side of that, Bridgewater Town Council who would want to take that if they met their requirements. Are keen to take it if it's their requirement. At the moment, there's risk that we've got to manage.
Going forward, once we've done there, who's going to pay for the ongoing, I say we call it revenue expenses going forward?
Well, if it's not
At least gone back.
devolved,
Yeah.
then it'll be something.
Okay. So, if you said we're going to looking at maybe 30 barge boat positions, maybe, would we be looking at then when people who could actually live there, like they do in London, you know, along the Thames, people live in barge boats, would that be a concept we'd be looking to do, or was that really people?
It's a concept we would look at. This is legal activity, I think, that needs to take place before.
Yes.
Yes.
Relations, what you have to do, what the boats have to do.
Yes.
Biggest liability, boats in now, stuff, they were there, they commuted, to the realms of harbours and ports.
Yes. So it is a possibility. Steve?
Just might be able to help you a little bit in that. The Bridgewater Town Council have already got a formal agreement. They've set up a community interest charity with the view to, should the opportunity arrive, take over the management of the docks with a view to a lease of some sort. Please don't put. I'm not speaking on behalf of the town council, which is a bit of background information. However, as Richard indicated, risk is the bit that's relevant in this, and it goes back to a previous conversation in relation to the dilapidation. So by taking ownership of the lease of the area, there's a need to review the risk that you're taking on at the time, and that's so Bridgewater Town Council are very keen to have conversations, but we're a long way to travel yet.
Thank you for the presentation. I missed a bit on the timescale for the lock gates being done.
I haven't got that time scale yet. I posted it past our asset people 3 weeks or so ago. Wait for a response back.
Okay. Next one is you mentioned about the 33, 36 vessels coming in. Is that purely barges or other craft?
The council, the calculation we worked on the basis of what's the largest we can get in there, and then that looks over 33. There's also space for the 10 leisure.
Okay. And I missed a bit about facilities that they may avail themselves of.
So the reversion of the marina will give them water power and sewage treatment facilities back on site.
Okay, so pump out and there's water and there's power. Okay.
But in terms of other facilities like showers, we're not adding to it.
Okay. And you raised the who's going to run it, thank you. And Councillor Lee raised the Canal and River Trust. My question has been answered, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions? Richard? Thank you very much for coming along, Richard. This took us a while to point who was. Yes, I was glad that I'm really pleased you took, you obviously not just done this project, and you're doing the biggest one in Taunton Fireport.
Yeah.
Fireport, which is going to be a massive development. I believe you've been working on the other one that's a little bit of the most well. So I know you're busy guys, so thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we may get you back maybe next year sometime to give a bit of an update. If you don't mind.
No, we have to have a water for an update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. I don't know if you need to go now or you want
To go, let's say we're going to need for.
No.
Yeah. Thanks. No worries.
to. Yes, you've got three. Okay, love it. So love the greatest to say. Here's people can.
Please don't see it.
It's very interesting.
Got lots of questions. Oh, I can see them. Risk.
Doesn't see it.
Risk possible.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that if we are one of the
Every time we expect it to so. I saw something really nice.
I'm just finding that out.
Whoever's sharing their screen is currently sharing their chat as well.
trust them because they have belief on it, would be their responsibility financially.
That's something, yes, that's.
That's what let's go ahead there and get them.
You just want to bring it back up. Sorry, we've got item 7, 8.
It was just got to do
She can't legally, she's not allowed to put anything on the agenda.
Do it. All right. Yeah. So. Yeah. Right, everyone. Back into part 2. Now I'm going to close the meeting now because we're not for it, i.e. we do not have enough councillors in the room. So I'm actually closing the meeting now. Stay on, everybody. We're going to have an informal update. Thank you.